Hi everyone, we're going to look at the May-June 2018 paper 1 for chemistry. So let us begin. Question 1. Which of the following processes suggests that matter is made up of minute particles? Is it A, diffusion, capillarity, C, evaporation, or D, distillation? The answer is A, diffusion. Question 2. Mass number is the number of neutrons plus protons. That's A. Question 3. When an exothermic reaction occurs, energy is A, absorbed from the environment, released to the environment, absorbed from the reactants, or released from the products. Exothermic is heat given off to the environment. And how do you know? If you place the reaction system with the beaker on your palms, you'll feel the heat coming off from the beaker and it would feel hot. So it means that heat is given off to the environment. Okay? So is B, release heat to the environment. Question 4. Which of the following statements best describes the difference between an atom and an ion? A, an atom is electrically neutral, but an ion is positively charged. What about the negatively charged part of it? So it cannot be A. B, an atom is electrically neutral, but an ion is negatively charged. It still doesn't account for the positive ion at the same time. C, an atom contains equal numbers of protons and neutrons, yes, whereas an ion contains more electrons than proton. All right. And D, an atom contains equal numbers of protons and electrons, whereas ion contains unequal number of protons and electrons. So you do not know which ion is taking place, right? So you have to give a general statement, which is unequal number of protons, because if it's a cation, the protons are greater than the electrons, and if it's an anion, the electrons are greater than the cation. So generally speaking, it would be unequal number of protons and electrons. So the answer is D. Items 5 to 7 refer to the information in the following table. You're given the table. Question 5. Which of the following pairs of elements are isotopes? All right, so let us look at it. Remember that isotopes are atoms of the same element with the same number of protons, same number of electrons, but different number of neutrons or different mass number. Q would be the oxygen atom. Oxygen atom. R is sulfur atom. S would be the isotope of oxygen, 8 and 9, 17, so that would be oxygen 17. And T would be the sulfide ion, gains 2 electrons. So the answer would be Q and S. Q and S. So that's C. Question 6. Which of the following elements is an anion? And that's T, the sulfide ion. 17. The element Q is oxygen. Question 8. Barium is below calcium in the group 2 of the periodic table. When both metals react with water, the main observed differences would be the rate of the reaction and the solubility of the product. Because as the atom gets larger, then it becomes more insoluble in water. Okay, so the solubility of the product would be one of the things that is observed. Question 9. Which of the following aqueous solutions contains 1 mole of hydrogen ions? Alright, so we have seen this question before. So let us get straight to it. Sulfuric acid dissociate fully to give the hydroxonium ion known as H+, and the sulfate ion SO2-. Balance this equation here, so it's 2H+. So what is the mole ratio between the sulfuric acid and the hydroxonium ion H+? For sulfuric acid H2SO4 ratio with H+, it is 1 to 2, and right here it says 0.5 molar of sulfuric acid. So if it's 0.5 moles, then for the H+, it should be 2 times 0.5, which equal to 1 moles. So the answer is B. Question 10. Which of the following substances does not conduct electricity? Is it A, lead, B, copper, C, ethanol, or D, ethanoic acid? And the answer is ethanol. Question 11. A new element R shows chemical properties similar to the element sodium. What is the correct formula of a compound formed with R and sulfur? Since R is similar properties to that of sodium, that means R formed the R+ ion, the +1 ion, and sulfur would form the sulfide ion, which is S2-. To find the formula, you switch the number that is beside the charges. For sulfur, it's 2, and for R, it would be 1. Right? So we switch it around, and so it is R2S1. But we don't usually write 1, so we leave it as it is. So the answer is C. Item 12 refers to the information in the following table. You're given the table. Which two elements above, when combined with each other, form an ionic compound? And an ionic compound is between a metal and a non-metal. So let us use the electronic configuration of each to find out what we are working with. So for 3, the atomic number is 3, so it would be 2, 1. For 6, it would be 2, 4. 17, 2, 8, 7, and 18, 2, 8, 8. All right. 18. So this is argon. This is the noble gas, argon. 17 is chlorine. 2 is carbon, and 1 is lithium. So this is the noble gas, argon. Carbon only form covalent compounds, right? It will only share 4 electrons. It would not take on electrons like that to form anions. So carbon is out of it, and the noble gas is out of it. So we are left with lithium and chlorine, which is lithium a metal, chlorine a non-metal. Lithium is between 1 to 3, so that makes it a metal. The valence electron is between 1 to 3, so that makes it a metal. And for chlorine, the valence electrons are between 4 to 7, so that makes it a non-metal. So the answer there would be 1 and 3, that is B. Question 13. The number of shared electron pairs in the methane molecule is? So let us draw the methane molecule and see what we are working with, or for clarity. So this is the methane molecule. Each line represents a bond. Within each bond, there are 2 electrons. So 2 electrons there, 2 there, 2 there, 2 there. So let us count the pairs now. This is 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 pairs. 4 times 2, that's 8. There are 8 electrons, but there are 4 pairs. 4 electron pairs. So the answer is A. Please don't be tricked by that. There are 8 electrons, but the shared electron pairs in the methane molecule is 4. There are 4 shared electron pairs. Okay. 14. Which of the following statements best describe the formation of a metallic bond? The answer is D. Cations are held together by a sea of mobile electrons. Question 15. A solution having a pH of 1 will react with zinc metal to produce hydrogen. Metals react with acid to produce the salt and hydrogen gas. Question 16. In the electrolysis of aqueous copper 2 sulfate solution using copper electrodes, the anode, what happened to the anode? The anode would decrease in mass. Remember that the electrodes are made up of copper, and the anode would be supplying the copper 2 plus ions in solution, because oxidation takes place at the anode, and the electrode at the anode would be breaking down to supply the copper 2 plus into solution, and that copper 2 plus then attack the electrode, made the cathode, and would be reduced and form the copper metal. So you would see a decrease in the mass at the anode, and that answer is A. Items 17 to 18 refer to the following sets into which elements may be placed. Period 2, group 2, group 7, period 3. Select the set of elements which best fits the following descriptions. Each set may be used once, more than once, or not at all. 17. Which set of elements forms molecules which contain 2 atoms? That would be the group 7 atoms, such as fluorine, chlorine. So group 7, fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine. Right, so that's C. Question 18. Which set of elements has atoms with 2 electrons in their outer shell? 2 electrons in their outer shell indicates that they are in group 2. So that is B. The number of electrons on the valence shell is an indication of the group that you belong, the elements belong. Question 19. Which of the following statements is true of carbon monoxide? Is it an acidic gas? No, carbon monoxide is a neutral gas along with N2O, dinitrogen oxide. B. Is it very soluble in water? No. It turns lime water milky, that is carbon dioxide. It reduces iron oxide, iron to oxide. Yes, this takes place in the blast furnace. Question 20. Adding dilute sulfuric acid to which of the following copper compounds would be the least suitable method for preparing copper sulfate? Copper oxide, copper carbonate, and copper hydroxide, when react with sulfuric acid, would make the reaction acid like a neutralization reaction. Okay. However, copper chloride attempting to react with sulfuric acid would only produce copper ions, sulfate ions, high H plus ions, hydroxide ions, and chloride ions. And if heat is not added, then certain species will not be removed from the reaction for us to even get any products there. Okay, so it's just for the entire time it will be mainly ions floating around. So the answer would be B. Question 21. Which of the following statements is not true? Aqueous ammonia is a weak electrolyte. That is true. Sulfuric acid is a strong electrolyte. That is also true. Copper is a strong electrolyte. No. Ethanol is a non-electrolyte. So the answer is C. Which of the following techniques may be used to separate a mixture of plant pigments into their individual components? Centrifugation. Centrifugation takes advantage of the different densities of the mixture. Right, so it separates the mixture based on their densities. Solvent extraction takes advantage of the solubility, the temperature of the different components in the mixture, in an immiscible mixture. Fractional distillation, on the other hand, take advantage of the boiling points for miscible mixture, for a mixture that is miscible. However, paper chromatography is used to separate colors and pigments from a mixture. So the answer is D. Items 23 to 24 refer to the following equation. Nitrogen dioxide plus sulfur dioxide give nitrogen monoxide and sulfur trioxide. Which of the following compounds is reduced? If you look at nitrogen dioxide, it was reduced to nitrogen monoxide, and one of the definition of reduction is that reduction is the loss of oxygen. Okay, so the answer is nitrogen dioxide, A. 24. Which of the following compounds is the oxidizing agent? Oxidizing agent undergoes reduction. Which one underwent reduction? It's nitrogen dioxide still, so the answer is A. 25. Which of the following substances, when added to pure water, significantly increases its conductivity? And that is sodium chloride. If you weighed out some sodium chloride and add it to a beaker of water, stir it, and then put a positive electrode and a negative electrode in there and connect the wire, you would see positive readings from the voltmeter. So the answer is D. (26) Which of the following diagrams best illustrates the course of an exothermic reaction? Remember, for an exothermic reaction, the delta H value is negative. But let us see how the equation of delta H, which is the change in enthalpy, equal to the sum of the energy of the products minus the sum of the energy of the reactants. And we get two values from this equation. We can get a positive value and we can also get a negative value. To get a positive value, the product must be great. The energy of the product must be greater than the energy of the reactants, right? To get a negative value, the energy of the product must be less than the energy of the reactants. Okay, so the product must be less than the energy of the reactants for us to get a negative value. And if you look at this graph, you can see that the energy value of the product is less than the energy value of the reactants. Okay, so the answer would be A, and that indicates an exothermic graph, the energy profile of an exothermic reaction. All right, B would be endothermic. All right, 27. A substance Y reacts with ammonium salt to produce ammonia gas. Y must therefore be, all right, ammonium salt, let's say ammonium chloride. This is an acidic salt, right? Why is it an acidic salt? Because it was produced from a weak base and a strong acid. The weak base in the form of ammonium hydroxide plus HCl. Strong acid, weak base. That produce ammonium chloride. Ammonium chloride and water. Right? So because of that, because of the strength of the base, the salt then become acidic. Okay, when the ammonium salt, the ammonium chloride dissociates in water, it donates an hydroxonium ion to water to form H plus again. And that's one of the definition of an acid, the ability to release H plus in solution. And ammonium chloride or the ammonium salt does that, okay, with relative ease. So if ammonium chloride is acidic, is an acidic salt, then what is it that we expect it to react with? A base, right? Okay. 28. An example of a substance with a giant covalent structure is diamond. 29. An ion with a single negative charge may be converted into a neutral atom of the same element by, so let us use the chloride ion as example for want to form the chlorine atom. So the chloride ion loses electrons to form chlorine gas. And we have to balance this equation. That is why it's 2 electrons. It's 1 generally, but because chlorine gas is diatomic, then you have to balance it. Okay? So it is C, losing an electron. Question 30. On adding aqueous hydrochloric acid to a solution in a test tube, a gas is given off which extinguishes a burning splint. This shows the presence of carbon dioxide is the gas that is used to extinguish the glowing splint, right? And on a more practical scale, carbon dioxide is used in fire extinguishers because it has the ability to push away the oxygen from around the flame, and so that will extinguish the fire. And additionally, carbon dioxide when applied is not poisonous to us. I mean, if nitrogen dioxide is also heavier than oxygen, so it can push it away, but nitrogen dioxide is also poisonous. Okay, so that wouldn't be very applicable on a health scale. And so that is why the carbon dioxide, one of the reasons why carbon dioxide is applied to fire extinguishers. If carbon dioxide is produced, it means that the carbonate ions are present, which is D. Question 31. The main substances responsible for acid rain are sulfur dioxide and sulfur trioxide. Item 32 refers to the following formation. Z is a brown gaseous oxide which is soluble in water. It turns moist blue litmus paper red. It means that it is an acidic oxide. Sulfur is used in which of the following processes? Vulcanization of rubber, extraction of iron from iron ore, no, or the manufacture of explosives. So it's 1 and 3, and that's B. 34. Which of the following metals will not displace hydrogen from dilute hydrochloric acid? And it's copper. Why? Because copper is below hydrogen in the reactivity series. And one of the rules that govern the reactivity series is that elements that are below an element cannot displace something that is above it. So if you're below hydrogen, you cannot displace it. 35. Which of the following list contains all raw materials used in the extraction of iron? And that is air, coke, iron ore, and limestone, which is C. 36. A property of metals is that they tend to lose electrons. 37. Which of the following procedures can be used to identify ammonia gas? Passing the gas through lime water, placing a burning splint in a jar of the gas, placing a glowing splint in a jar of the gas, or the red and blue litmus paper in a jar of the gas. And if ammonia gas is present, the red litmus paper would turn to blue. The answer is D. 38. Why is aluminum more resistant to corrosion than iron? Is it that aluminum has reacted completely but iron has not reacted completely? Or aluminum oxide form is more reactive than the iron oxide form? C. Aluminum oxide protects the aluminum but the iron oxide does not protect the iron. Or D. Aluminum oxide does not react with aluminum but the iron oxide reacts with iron. And the answer would be C. 39. Which of the following diagrams best illustrate bonding in hydrogen bromide? Hydrogen bromide, hydrogen has 1 electron and the bromine atom would have 7 electrons on its valence shell. And so both would go into sharing, form a bond to give HBr. So we are expecting to see D. The answer is D. 40. How many covalent bonds are there in nitrogen molecule? A nitrogen atom has 5 electrons on its outer shell, on the valence shell. Okay? And to achieve the octet, there must be 3 electron pairs, which gave nitrogen having 3 bonds. The nitrogen molecule have 3 bonds between it. So the answer is B. Question item 41 refers to the following table, which shows the reaction of 4 metals W, X, Y, and Z with water or steam. The table also shows the products formed when nitrates are heated for each metal. Question 41. Which of the metals is likely to form a soluble hydroxide? Alright, so W would be something below hydrogen, so that's silver or copper. X reacts with steam but not with cold water, and with the nitrate is the oxide, nitrogen dioxide, and oxygen. So that would be aluminum, iron, and zinc. Y reacts rapidly with cold water. The nitrite is produced and oxygen. If the nitrite is produced, it means that it's potassium and sodium, because with the nitrate all the others would form the oxide, but for potassium and sodium it formed the nitrite and oxygen. And Z reacts slowly with cold water, and that's calcium and magnesium. Alright, so which is likely to form a soluble hydroxide? Remember that all hydroxides are insoluble except sodium and potassium and ammonium. So the answer would be Y. (42) Aluminum is manufactured by the electrolysis of pure molten aluminum oxide, while iron is manufactured by the reduction of its ore hematite, Fe2O3. Which of the following statements about aluminum and iron is correct? Iron is more reactive than aluminum. Aluminum is more reactive than iron. Iron cannot be obtained by electrolysis. Or electricity is cheap near aluminum oxide, and the answer is B, because they asked statement that is correct about aluminum and iron in one sentence. 43. Which of the following substances is an important constituent of chlorophyll? Now we all know that is magnesium. 44. Which of the following metals will not react with water under any condition? And that's copper. Again, copper is below hydrogen in the reactivity series. 45. Which of the following metals forms an oxide which cannot be reduced by hydrogen? And that is copper. below hydrogen in the reactivity series. Items 46 refer to the following compounds: natural gas, propene, ethanol, vinegar. Each compound may be used once, more than once, or not at all. 46. Which of the compounds contains a saturated hydrocarbon? That's natural gas, which is methane. So that's A. 47. Which of the compounds can be dehydrated? Ethanol can be dehydrated to ethene. So 47 is C. 48. How many isomers of butane C4H10 are there? Again, isomerism starts at carbon 4. And there would be 2 isomers, carbon 5. There would be 3 isomers, carbon 6. There would be 4 isomers, carbon 7. There would be 5 isomers, and so forth. So the answer is B, 2. 49. Ethene cannot be directly converted to ethane, ethanol, carbon dioxide, or ethanoic acid. Let's go through them individually. Ethene can be converted to ethane by hydrogenation of ethene, right? Adding hydrogen across the double bond of ethene. Ethanol. Ethene can be converted to ethanol by hydration of ethene, okay, using water and high temperature and pressure. C. Ethene can be converted to carbon dioxide because when ethene is burned in excess oxygen, carbon dioxide and water is produced. Can ethene be converted directly into ethanoic acid? No. To get to ethanoic acid, ethene first have to convert to the alcohol, which is ethanol. Then ethanol undergoes oxidation using potassium dichromate to form ethanoic acid. So to get the ethanoic acid would be a 2-step process. So the answer is D. Question 50. Which of the following structures represent a molecule of butene? Alright, so C and D contain 3 carbon atoms, so they are out of it. Alright, so let us look at A and B. A, the double bond starts at carbon 1, while B, the double bond, whichever side you count it, you start counting from, the double bond starts at carbon 2. So it's where the double bond starts, right? And it is between carbon 2 and 3, while here the double bond starts at carbon 2 and it is between carbon 1. Sorry, here the double bond starts at carbon 1 and it is between carbon 1 and 2. And they said butene. So the answer is B. Items 51 to 52 refer to the following substances: propanol, propene, and ethyl ethanoate. In answering items 51 to 52, a particular substance may be used once, more than once, or not at all. Which substance is soluble in water? A is soluble in water. Because of the hydroxy group present in propanol, it forms hydrogen bonds with water. That significantly increases its solubility, and the tail part, or the chain, is not long enough to interfere with the hydrogen bonding. So again, the solubility is increased. 52. Which of the substances is used as a monomer in the addition polymerization? There are 2 types of polymerization: addition polymerization and condensation polymerization. Addition polymerization only belongs to the alkenes. Only the alkenes would undergo addition polymerization, right? And so it would be B. And remember to quickly identify an alkene based on if you're given the molecular formulas is to look at the ratio between carbon and hydrogen. If it's a 1:2 ratio between carbon and hydrogen, then it is an alkene. More than likely it is an alkene. 53. The major natural source of alkanes and alkenes is petroleum. 54. When a hydrocarbon molecule is cracked, which two smaller molecules are produced? An alkene and an alkane. So that's 1 and 2, A. Items 55 to 56 refer to the following equation. Okay. 55, the forward reaction is known as esterification. The ester is produced. And 56, the reverse reaction is known as hydrolysis, where you end up back with what you started out with. 57, which of the following features is not true of all homologous series of compounds? The members of the series have the same functional group, the same general formula, similar chemical properties, or D, the same empirical formula, and that is D. 58. The fermentation of sugars using glucose as the substrate can be represented by the equation. So glucose is converted to ethanol and carbon dioxide in the absence of oxygen. So that is an anaerobically fermentation. This has oxygen, that's aerobically. This is a monomer, two monomers reacting to form a dimer. And this is carbon dioxide plus water. This is photosynthesis. So this would be the answer. 59. To which homologous series does the following structure belong? This is the functional group. This is what place it in its homologous series, and that's the carboxylic acid group. Okay, so the answer is D. Item 60 refers to the following graph, which shows the boiling points of some straight chain alcohols. Right? Which of the following molecular formulae represents the alcohol whose boiling point is 160? So let us look at, so here we have 150, 160, 170, 180, 190, 200. So this line right here is 160. Come straight across, it is on carbon 6. So let us see which one of these compound contains 6 carbon atoms. So there are 3 outside this bracket and 1 carbon inside. So that's 3 times 1, that's 3, plus 1, that's 4. So this is 4 carbon. There are 4 carbons out, 4. There's a number 4 outside, 1 inside, 4 ones 4 and 1 5. So that's 5 carbons. 5 ones 5 and 1 6. So that's 6 carbon. 6 1 6 and 1 7. So that's 7 carbon. So what we are looking for is C. Alright, so we have come to the end of this video. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting, and remember to continue studying hard up until your exam. Also remember to subscribe, like and share the video. See you soon.